Chapter 267 Lambs and Wolves in Muslim Societies, Part 2. Intisar believed that within those 3 months, she will write to her lover Sami as many letters as possible. That is why she has decided to compose her reply that same evening. Everything is beautiful in her eyes that day. Whenever she thought of writing an expression, she referred to his letter and read it again and again. She never felt tired or bored of reading it continuously and repeatedly. So, she can recite the whole letter without looking onto that sheet of paper. It seemed that it has been engrafted in her heart. Many times, she closed her eyes and pressed the letter to her heart and memorized it. Finally, she made up her mind to write her letter, or to be more precise, to pour out her heart upon papers. She picked up the pen and put it between her sweet lips. Her glowing eyes looked thoughtfully to the sky, her rosy lips smiled to the moon. She became serious, and then started to write to him. She wrote the first sentence, cancelled it, changed the paper, and then repeated the entire process. She did that many times. Sometimes, she reached up to the 10th line and then discovered a wrong word or expression and hence repeated the whole matter again. Of course, for doing that she needed to change the paper. Many papers are crumpled and thrown away. If Intisar's mother will suddenly get up from her sleep and walk out of her room into the compound, she may think that her daughter has gone crazy. And if Sister Firdaus wakes up and makes the same discovery, she may conclude that her sister has become a cookie of love. So, after many papers are torn and crumpled, Intisar has finished her first love letter. If someone has seen her, while she is pouring out her heart to her lover Sami, he will know for sure that love is an irresistible force and another type of madness. For while she is writing, many times she laughed, and again she wept. Much time has been spent in reading it loudly and silently. She read it while she is sitting, while walking, and while lying on her stomach and on her back. She also read it in many different postures, like someone kneeling for prayer or cross-legged as Buddha, or someone about to run a race. When all these love rituals are performed, the love epistle is carefully folded and placed inside an envelope. Then, the address is printed on it. Finally, the envelope is sealed with her own lips and blessed with many kisses. That night, Intisar has many dreams, some of victory and some of defeat. The next day, while she is on her way to school, she visited the post office. With a heart full of joy, she committed her precious treasure to the care of the postman. From that day onwards, Intisar began to count the days, waiting for his reply. In those days, Khartoum University was well known as the best university in Africa and Arabia. When the British people came to know that Al-Azhar al-Sharif Islamic University in Cairo was producing every year hundreds of influential religious and political Muslim leaders, the spirit of jealousy caught them up. Thereafter, the old spirit of competition between Christianity and Islam was revived. In consequence, all the excellencies and advantages of Oxford and Cambridge universities were combined together, and hence Gordon College was established in Khartoum. That college later on was renamed as Khartoum University. After the establishment of that university, there was a balance in the society. Graduates from both universities were held in high esteem by the common people of Sudan. When Intisar's romantic message had made its entry in the university, the general atmosphere is the preparation for the final exam. Every student is busy with his books, except one who became like a dying rose. He almost lost hope in what he is waiting for. 1 month had passed since he sent his first love letter to his beloved. He expected the reply to come after 2 weeks, but a fortnight later, it still hasn't arrived. He is sitting alone that morning while the rest of the students are busy with their books. His condition can be likened to a person who lost all hopes in life. This is one serious drawback of love. When a lover bestowed all his love on his beloved, a failure in love will end everything. Some lovers will go to the extent of ending their lives like Romeo and Juliet, or becoming mad like Majnun and Layla. So, while Sami is sitting alone in a remote corner of the university compound, he saw his friend Salah approaching him from far. There is nothing on Salah's face to reveal that he is carrying good news, but in the contrary, he looked serious. As soon as Salah reached Sami, he said angrily, "For how long will you neglect your study and remain sad like this?" When Sami remained silent, Salah added, "She is not the only girl in the world." "I know that," replied Sami softly, "but in the whole world I don't think there is any girl who can stir up the love which I have for Intisar." Salah said more angrily, "I am sure this is just a passing affection which any young boy may feel towards a beautiful girl who smiled or talked to him. Very soon those feelings will die away." When Sami didn't reply, Salah came closer to him and whispered in his ear, "Don't forget that after 2 months we will complete our study and then you will become an engineer and I will be a lawyer. Once we return to Al-Gadarif city, every girl will be after us. I can never think or imagine myself marrying another girl except Intisar. If she doesn't respond to your love, will you remain unmarried all the days of your life? Believe me Salah, that is the only thing I am going to do. I will remain loyal to those beautiful eyes as long as I live. You are talking like this because you don't know what Intisar means to me. Since the time I saw her and talked to her, I never spent 1 second without thinking about her. She became everything to me. I spent a whole month, standing every day in the street, waiting to see her going to school. Every time I saw her, her eyes looked at me and they were full of love. Her lips always smiled to me. Even though we didn't talk to each other, but still our eyes communicated a love message. Maybe she likes you, but her heart with someone else. Of course, in that case you can't blame her." Before Sami can reply to his friend's skeptical conclusion, he heard a voice calling his name. He turned his face and looked up. He saw the postman standing behind him and holding a dispatch in his hand. At that moment, his hope is renewed again, and love flooded like a shower of fresh rain in his dried-up soul. His heart once again began to bubble with spring of joy. He then looked at the sender's address and read it loudly, "From Intisar Ibrahim Mustafa Gabber." He immediately stood up on his feet, thanked the postman, and dropped some money in his hand. That generosity made the postman to be as happy as Sami. Next, he told his friend Salah to be ready because shortly he will take him to see a movie at the Chinese Friendship Hall Theatre and for a dinner at the Grand Hotel. Then, he excused himself and rushed to his room. In a few seconds, Sami entered his room and closed the door. He quickly threw away his shoes and jumped on the bed. Lying on his back with his left leg half bent and the right leg resting on it, Sami began to read the heart of Intisar. "Dear Sami, I have waited for long time for your letter to come. But all that time, I didn't ask myself, whether I really love you or just a passing affection that I feel for you. When your letter reached me today, I found myself confronted with this important question. Your letter revealed the deep love you have for me. I appreciate that. Your letter also made it clear that your family will not accept a girl of my family's standard. So, before I make any commitment, I must be sure that I love you with all of my heart. I sincerely searched my heart to find out whether I have the same love that you have for me. The dictionary defines love as a feeling of strong personal attachment induced by that which delights or commands admiration. This definition reveals the state of my heart. Somehow, I found it to be incomplete and narrow, because it speaks about the physical virtues such as beauty, personality, wealth, and family standard. These are the virtues which attract many young boys and girls to each other. I am not fully convinced by this definition. Some time back, I read a book in philosophy, given to me by my sister Frida. The writer of that book is known as Jean-Paul Sartre. Sartre has defined love as the desire to be loved. This definition seems to be simple and short, but I found it the most comprehensive and accurate definition ever written about love. For I have never desired a person to love me except you. In fact, I had been born with that desire for you and you alone. In your letter you have mentioned a problem which requires serious thinking and careful planning. You have stated that your father is likely to object to our marriage. I am happy that you are not going to yield to his objection. Also, it is good that in our society a boy can't be forced into a marriage unless he is convinced to do that on his own accord, while a girl can easily be forced into a marriage without asking her permission. For that reason, let me tell you about my family. My father died 10 years ago. He was an ordinary clerk in the municipality. He married 2 women. He has a son and a daughter from his first wives, which are known as Omar and Badria. My mother is his second wife who brought forth Frida, Osman, Firdaus, and me. Omar, Badria, and their mother hate us and always speak evil against us. I wonder why it is that you haven't made reference to them in your letter. At any rate, I will like to inform you that Omar is a drunkard and a criminal. We don't consider him to be our brother. The only guardians I have are Frida and my mother. Frida works as a translator in a big company in Abu Dhabi. She is an enlightened person, and hence believes that a girl is free to choose her future life partner. Even so, I will be pleased if you write to her and inform her about our friendship. Frida is the only supporter we have. Before she completed her study at Khartoum University, my mother struggled a lot to support us. She and Frida used to make food at home and sell it at the main market. My mother is a nice woman, but her main concern is to get us married as soon as possible. This is because Frida has made a vow that she will not get married until Osman, Firdaus, and I have completed our education. My sister Firdaus is a sweet girl, except for her sulky nature. I told her about my love affair with you. She liked the friendship, but she doubted the match. I have another brother by the name of Osman who is 1 year senior to me. He is in high school and living in a boarding school at Kassala city. Before I stop writing, I will like to reopen the topic of marriage in which you said your father is keen. As I have told you, my mother is also very keen on this matter, especially as the last proposal had come from a very good family. It was presented by Hassan, the son of the famous politician Mr. Mahjoub al-Hilali. Even though I had refused the proposal, Hassan is still insisting upon the pursuit. I told him I don't want to think about marriage until I complete my studies. He said he will not mind waiting for me even if it meant I have to attain the university. I made it clear to him that I don't want anybody to wait for me. Nonetheless, he is still bothering me by sending his cousin Sazan, who is my classmate. The problem now is that my mother is showing great interest in him and his family. This encouraged him to write a letter to my sister at Abu Dhabi. Frida replied that Intisar is the one who will decide whom to marry, and since she rejected the proposal, that is the end of the matter. My mother didn't like Frida's reply. She is still trying to convince me to accept Hassan. Having received your letter, I am going to tell her about you, and I think that this is going to close permanently Hassan's chapter. Lastly, I will like to remind you that I love you, and hence I will never ever think or imagine myself being married to anyone else, but you and only you. Yours and yours alone. Intisar Ibrahim Mustafa Gabber.